What's going on, guys? I'm John. I got another product review for you today. We're looking at the Ranger 1500 rangefinder by Vortex. Let me break this video down for you real quick. We're going to unbox it, we're going to physically look at it, and then I'm going to field test the thing. We're going to look at durability, accuracy, distance capabilities. We're going to check out how it does in low light, and then I'm going to wrap it up with pros, cons, where to get it, how much it costs, and that's it. So here we go. Okay, the Vortex Ranger 1500 still in the box. Let's check it out. Inside we've got a soft-sided case with the rangefinder in it. You can set that aside. Also a little cheat card here for slope and drop. Got the manual, got an Allen wrench, the neck lanyard, one lithium CR2 battery, and I think that's it. Alright, let's take a look at this thing. It's really pretty small, 3.9 inches long, 3 inches wide, and it's only 7.7 ounces. You'll notice there's a rubber coating on it, green in color. Keeps it a little bit more durable, I guess, and actually gives you a better grip on the thing. The lenses are fully multi-coated. The front, you have the 22mm objective lens. This rangefinder has a magnification of 6. If we look on the back, you'll see the eye cup here, and this is actually how you manually focus this rangefinder. Below that's where the battery goes. Let's throw that in quick. Just grab a coin, drop the battery in. Couple other things. If you're going to put the lanyard on, you can see there's a couple little holes here, and that's where the neck lanyard goes, right there. And on the side there's a utility clip. So if you want to put this on your pack, or if you want to put it in your pocket, your belt, that's what that's for. And you can actually use the Allen wrench that I showed you. You can take it off, you can flip it to the other side, depending on if you're right or left-handed, or if you don't like it at all, you can just pull it right off. On the bottom, there's the tripod socket if you want to use this thing with a tripod. And then on the top, pretty simple. There's just 2 buttons. The one closest to your eye says measure. The one further from your eye says menu. This rangefinder has O-rings that seal the product against moisture, so essentially it's waterproof. It's also fog-proof. All right, once you have the battery in, to turn it on, all you have to do is hit the measure button once, and the display will pop up. I'm going to show you the display right now. It's not a great picture, but kind of gives you an idea. Once the display is showing, you just have to hit the measure button a second time, and that will give you your basic measurement. So once to turn it on, once to measure. That's it. This rangefinder also has a scan mode, so instead of once to turn it on and once to take a measurement, you can do once to turn it on and then hold the measure button down, and what you can do is just scan. And everything the rangefinder hits, it will continually give you updated distances. As far as getting into the menu and changing some of the settings, they kept it pretty simple. So the second button here, furthest from your eye, is the menu button. What you do is hold it down for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to be in the menu mode. And there's only really 3 options of things that you can change. The first one is you can change it from meters to yards or yards to meters. The second thing you can do is change from HCD mode, which is their angle compensating mode, to the LOS mode, which is just the line of sight mode. And the third thing you can do is just change the brightness of the display. There's 3 different brightnesses. So there you go, that's the physical rundown of this rangefinder. We also just went through the basics of functionality. We're gonna get into some of those a little bit more when we field test the product. The first thing I looked at was the waterproof claim. What I did was submerge this rangefinder underwater multiple times, and I did it at the beginning of the field test because I wanted to see if, 1, it would crap out on me right away, or 2, if something would happen as the field testing went on. But you know what? It checked out okay. That being said, I wouldn't take this thing scuba diving on your next trip to the Caribbean, but if it gets wet in the field, I wouldn't sweat it. The next thing I did was checked out the anti-fog properties. Now this thing is purged with nitrogen, and it has the waterproof O-rings, so no moisture is supposed to get inside of it. So what I did was I wanted to shake it up a little bit and go from extreme cold to warm, warm back to cold, so I threw this thing in the freezer, and I had no issue whatsoever with internal fogging. Now don't be confused. When these companies say anti-fog, it means internal fogging, not external fogging, like the fog that you get on the outside of the glass if you breathe on it, or if you go from warm to cold, something like that. I did get a little bit of fog on the glass doing that, as with all optics, but what they're talking about here is the internal fogging. No issues whatsoever. Okay guys, before I test out the distance and the accuracy, it's important for you to know that Vortex advertises that this rangefinder has distance capabilities for non-reflective targets at 750 yards and reflective targets at 1500 yards. And this works at angles as extreme as plus or minus 60 degrees. So I started small, looking at basic accuracy. I pulled the tape and I took readings at 50 yards, 40 yards, 30, 20, 10, and 9 yards. Every reading was spot on, including the 10 yards, but when I dropped down to 9 yards, no reading whatsoever. The next thing I wanted to do was test out the distance capabilities, so I recruited the T-Man, we found ourselves a better vantage point, and we started pumping some distances out. Measurements can be taken 2 different ways, and let's use this tree as an example. The first one is the LOS, or line of sight mode. When you're in the LOS mode, think about a line going straight from your eyeball right to the tree. And the rangefinder gave us a distance of 18 yards in an angle of negative 29 degrees. Switch to HCD mode, which is the horizontal component distance. What the rangefinder does is it takes the line of sight measurement and the angle, and it does the math, and it gives you the true horizontal distance. If you're hunting from a tree stand or some extreme elevations, this is the distance that you're going to want to use when you take a shot. In this scenario, the tree had a horizontal distance of 15 yards. Now let me rattle off some other horizontal distances that we looked at. The first object that we looked at was this well cap. We were unable to pick up an HCD reading, and here's why. In line of sight mode, we ranged it at 11 yards, but it had an extreme angle of negative 56 degrees. So if you do the math, that distance would have came in under 10 yards in HCD mode, and this rangefinder doesn't pick up objects under 10 yards. So here's the rule of thumb with this product. If you're close to an object, but you're unable to pick up a distance, you can assume that it's under 10 yards. Next, we got this wheelbarrow at 29 yards. The decoy at 123 yards. This road sign at 304 yards. The shed at 517. The tree line at 936. And we hit this blue silo at 1,435 yards. We went back and cross-referenced the distance with some satellite imagery, and we found that the actual distance was 1,433 yards, which was only 2 yards off. Vortex claims a variance of plus or minus 3 yards at any object 1,500 yards away, and our 2 yards off was well within the margin of error. Next, we tried another silo, but with no luck. We couldn't get a reading on the LOS mode or the HCD mode. What we found out when we cross-referenced the satellite imagery again was that this silo was over 1,800 yards away, so outside of the capabilities of this product. All right, you're probably saying, that's good and everything, but John, I don't hunt silos, I don't hunt wheelbarrows, I hunt non-reflective, soft targets like deer, bear, elk, and I was wondering the same thing, so I went out and recruited some friends to help me. Not only was I able to connect on multiple animals under 100 yards, but I was also able to connect on cows at 555, 641, and 711 yards. The next thing I wanted to do was test this product in a low light scenario, so I set my decoy up at 59 yards. I took my first reading at sunset, and I took my second reading 30 minutes after sunset, which typically is the end of shooting hours. The evening that I did the low light testing was just a few days after the new moon, so I didn't get much help from the moon as far as additional light. I was easily able to make out the decoy and range it 10 minutes after shooting light. 20 minutes after shooting light, as you can see, I ran out of camera light, but I was still able to pick up the decoy and range it. And then 30 minutes after shooting light, again, with no camera light, I was able to just pick up the white on the belly of the whitetail. So this thing had low light capabilities almost a full hour after sunset, or a half an hour after legal shooting hours. Just a disclaimer, don't hunt after legal shooting hours as it is illegal, but I just did this to show you how good it worked in low light. The last thing I want to do is just touch on the scan mode again. What you can do is hold the measure button in and just scan. And everything the rangefinder hits, it's going to continually keep pumping out distances for you. This worked great in 2 different scenarios. One, trying to pick up distances on really far away objects, because it doesn't take much when you hit that measure button to bump it a little bit, or even if it's on a tripod, just hitting the button will bump it enough where you can miss a target completely at 12 or 1,300 yards. If you're in scan mode, you can keep hovering around that object until you get a good reading. The second scenario, and you guys have all been there, you're sitting in your stand, you're trying to range multiple trees around your stand to get an idea how far away everything is. There's one tree you've been trying to hit, but every time you range it, you're hitting some of the branches or brush in the foreground. Again, if you're in scan mode, hold that button down and you can just hover until you find that hole where it gives you a reading right through to that tree. You'll be good to go. All right, I think that's everything. So let's move on to pros, cons, how much it costs, and where to get the thing. Okay guys, let's talk about the pros. The distance is checked out fine. The accuracy checked out fine. The angle compensation seemed to work great. You guys saw that we had no issues with water. I really like the fact that the display offered 3 different brightnesses depending on how dark or light it is outside. The scan mode was a cool feature, and the utility clip is something that's unique that I'll be taking advantage of this fall. Okay, let's move over to cons. The only possible issue that I found with this rangefinder is if you're someone that really wants a rangefinder that's going to pick up objects less than that 10-yard mark, you might want to look for something else. Otherwise, this rangefinder just checked out to be really solid. Okay guys, I'm going to take it one step further. If you're familiar with Vortex's first rangefinder, the Ranger 1000, after looking at countless reviews, there was two things that jumped off the page as potential negatives. The first is customers weren't thrilled that you had to push the button 3 times to get a reading. They fixed that with this new rangefinder, the 1500. You only have to do once to turn it on, once to get a measurement. And the second thing is some people said the Ranger 1000 had a slower processor speed, meaning you hit the button, you wait a little bit, and then you get your distance. I had no problems field testing the Ranger 1500. I hit the button, immediately got a distance, no issues there. One of the limitations of this video was I didn't look at battery life whatsoever. The good thing about it is when you're looking through the display on the rangefinder, it actually has a battery meter, so you guys can always see what the battery life is on the rangefinder. If for some reason though this thing runs out of battery 2 or 3 months down the road, I'll put a comment below this video to let you guys know that hey, the battery didn't hold up. Alright, so where do you get it and how much does it cost? A good thing to do would be to go over to Vortex's website. I'm going to leave the link below this video in the information. It's always a good place to start. But about $480, and I've seen it at Midway USA Online, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop, Sportsman's Warehouse, so you can get it pretty much anywhere, and if you guys have local sports shops that carry any of the Vortex optics, they can get it for you too. The last thing that I do want to touch on is the warranty that Vortex has. I usually don't talk about warranties unless it's a really good one, and this is a really good one. So basically their VIP warranty says that if it's got the Vortex name on it, no receipts, no registrations. If something goes wrong with it, send it to them and they're going to take care of you. So I know it hurts to lay out a lot of money for optics, any optics, not just this one, but if you got that kind of warranty to back it up, you can feel pretty good about making the one-time purchase. Alright guys, that's it. I hope you liked the video. Make sure you subscribe to the antlerscore.com YouTube channel. Hit that little red subscribe button. We've been pumping out a video every 2 weeks for about the last 7 months, and I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to give you the $0.00 that it costs to subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, keep an eye out for my next video. We'll see you next time. Peace.